Hi, I'm Renessa, and today I'm going to be presenting on impact of social media on adolescent mental health. I decided to choose this topic because I feel like it's really relevant to our society today. I think that social media and technology are kind of impossible to escape from. They're being implemented in our day-to-day lives. And I was curious to see how it impacted adolescents. So, for my introduction, I decided to focus on the positive and negative impacts on mental health. And some of the positives are educational content and awareness, creativity and self-expression, connect with others who live of a long distance. So if you have family members or friends that don't live nearby, this is a really great way to connect with them and kind of stay up to date in their lives. And then people who belong to groups who are often marginalized, such as minorities, LGBTQ plus. I think a lot of people form a nice sense of community through social media. And then some negative impacts are it can be distracting from homework, activities, life events, offer biased, incorrect information. So a lot of things are being posted on social media and no one, or it could be hard to know where that source is coming from. So you don't really know if it's incorrect or not. And it could be like misleading people towards the wrong information or sense of views. Cyberbullying, predators, and online harassment, social, physical, and lifestyle comparison. A lot of people compare their lives or how they look to someone else. Addiction and sleep distribution. So, being on your phone before bed or being exposed to blue light for a long period of time could really disrupt your sleep. And then emotional dysregulation. Okay, so how is this relevant to psychotherapy? So I focused on new technology, which I think is really important for the therapist because when you're working with adolescents, I think this is such a crucial part of their daily lives that I can imagine social media will come up in your therapy session with them. And I think if you're not knowledgeable as a therapist on the different forms of media, or specifically the form that the adolescent is using, it could kind of become a barrier and it can be difficult to help them. So I think that staying up to date is kind of a responsibility that you should have as a therapist when working with this age group. And then I think social media could be very triggering. So that can often lead to adolescents feeling an increase in anxiety, depression, disordered eating habits, and poor sleeping. And because they are dealing with these issues, they will come see a therapist and we can offer them interventions such as CBT or other resources that they can use since they are struggling. And then also, I put working with families because I think adolescents are extremely vulnerable during this time. And I think it is really great to incorporate a well-rounded amount of resources. So not only with your help, but kind of working with caregivers or parents that could be monitoring their child's screen, and then also just educating parents about the negatives and positives of social media is important. And then kind of creating a healthy schedule with the parents and the adolescents around social media. So there isn't just like to prevent addiction with social media. So kind of creating a healthy lifestyle balance while incorporating social media could be really great. And then for my theoretical perspectives, I chose Erickson's psychosocial development theory. I thought this was the most relevant. And he has 8 different stages, but I chose this stage, which is adolescence. And the conflict is identity versus confusion. The description is experiment with and develop identity and roles. So during this time, adolescents are kind of building their sense of self, but also peer influence and social acceptance and belonging is very important to them. So if they're not getting positive feedback and they don't feel like they're accepted for who they are and the version that they put out of themselves on social media, this could result in a lack of self-esteem, like a low sense of self-esteem, and could kind of create a negative image of their own sense of self, which could be very detrimental to their well-being. And then kind of just going more into that topic, I talk about how adolescents place more emphasis on how their peer perceives them, their opinions start to matter more and can alter their sense of developing self. Feeling accepted by their peers helps them build a stronger positive identity than if they were not accepted. How does this relate to social media and mental health? So, social media allows adolescents to express themselves and form their own online identity, and peers can provide negative or positive feedback towards the image of self that the adolescent has displayed through social media. They may feel pressure to become an idealized version of themselves if the feedback they received was not positive. And this could build an unhealthy need for constant validation from others. And also, they may have low self-esteem or role confusion if they do not feel accepted by their peers. And then these are 3 of the peer-reviewed um, articles that I chose. And the first one dives deeper into exploring the relationship between social media use and symptoms of depression and anxiety. So, social media use is associated with depressive and anxiety symptoms. And they also found in this article that anxiety and depression linked with social media use was more prevalent in girls compared to boys. And then for the second article that I chose, it kind of focused more on a specific media, which was TikTok. And something I found interesting was that males with a greater sense of isolation when offline and greater TikTok use were more exposed to online risks like cyberbullying, excessive use, inappropriate behavior, and identity theft. And then the second thing I found was exposure to advertising on TikTok was directly related to lower body satisfaction and higher perceived importance of physical appearance to others. So again, comparing yourself to others. And then I thought this article was also very interesting. It it focused on adolescents with mood disorders and how they approach Instagram. So adolescents with mood disorders post more frequently on Instagram than compared to those without mood disorders. And they also were found to post more selfies than group photos, which I found very interesting. Okay. Developmental influences. So biological factors, focusing on the brain's reward center. So the brain's reward center releases dopamine. And when an adolescent receives feedback such as a like or a comment, this gives them a boost of dopamine. So this is how social media can become very addictive. Every time you post, you increase your dopamine. So when your dopamine is low after maybe it's been a couple days since you've posted a picture or even a day, you're going to post another one and another one. And that's why it's so hard to get off of social media or to kind of create this balance because it becomes your source of dopamine. And then social and psychological factors, you're comparing your quality of life to others. So if you, I guess, are not living a life that maybe you enjoy and you see someone else enjoying their life, this can make you feel bad about your life. Um, Not feeling content with your day-to-day life. It can trigger feelings of anxiety and lower self-esteem, fear of missing out. If you see your friends doing something or family members, this could create a fear of missing out. And then isolation. You could live a very online life and not a very offline life. So some mental health implications. Cyberbullying leads to increase in anxiety, depression, and damaging to psychological development, sleep disruptions. So, because social media can cause sleep disruptions because of the blue light and maybe being on your phone for a long period of time, insufficient sleep can lead to interruptions in neurological development, leading to emotional functioning and risk for suicide. So, as you're growing, neurological development is very important, and this could create a blockage with that. That could lead to other issues. Um, and then comparison around physical beauty leads to poor body image, depressive symptoms, and disordered eating. So, if you are trying to create this idolized version of yourself because you see someone online that maybe is thinner, more in shape, this could create poor body image and disordered eating, which is very dangerous to their well-being. And then some interventions that I found to be useful, parental monitoring and time limit setting. So I think parents have a huge part in the intervention product process with this topic. I think setting time limits on their screens is really important. So maybe like an hour or two a day of social media could be really great. And then just monitoring your kids' screens. And then adults' own use of social media and youth's presence. So how does the adult present social media in the home? So if the adult is on social media a bunch or has an addiction to it, it's more likely that the child will. So kind of being a role model for them and creating a healthy sense of social media use could go a really long way. CBT to kind of deal with cognitive distortions. Narrative therapy is really great for if you are feeling like unhappy with your life because you're comparing it to theirs. So kind of rewriting that. Creating a positive social media following. So following people that make you feel good or following accounts that are positive and don't make you feel like you have to compare yourself. Mindfulness, limit screen time before bed. That could look like 1 hour of no phone time before bed and maybe replacing that with a book. And then therapists being up to date on new social media platforms. Like I mentioned again, the therapist should be knowledgeable about this because I think it could go a long way in creating connection with you and your client, and you don't want to have a barrier between you and them. And finally, my summary. So, developing an identity and secure sense of self is a crucial part of the adolescent stage. Social media has shown to have a negative impact on biological, social, and psychological factors that can hinder an adolescent's well-being. Although social media has also shown to create a positive impact on those who use it to be a part of a community or use it for educational awareness purposes. through implementing interventions with the help of parents, caregivers, therapists, peers, and adolescents, social media can become more of a positive outlet for adolescents. And then these are my references. The first three are the peer review references, and then the others are the references I use throughout the PowerPoint. And that's it. Thank you so much for your time today and for listening to me talk about this topic.